Hello, YouTube. Today is February 1st, 2013, Friday. Now, today, as you can see, I'm in my mother's dining room, and there might be some noises going on because there's some construction going on because they're remodeling a house in our neighborhood. And also pardon the oily face because I got some lotion on right now. So now today is going to be the topic discussing as to why I renounced Christianity or Catholicism and becoming a witch, going into paganism. I was baptized and raised a Catholic, and my mother, she used to take me to church every Sunday when I was a young boy, around maybe 4 or 5 years old. And I was completely oblivious to what it was all about or why she took me there, and I never really questioned it. I thought it was just some type of weird thing going on. I never questioned it. It didn't really bother me. So, when I was around 6 years old, it was around one evening back in Italy when it was raining, and I asked, why does it rain? Where does the rain come from? And I remember my aunt, she responds, oh, God makes rain. He creates the rain. And I said, God? Dio? Who's Dio? Well, Dio, it's Italian for God. Because I didn't know what the word meant. So she says, oh, he created the world. He created you. He created me. He creates everybody. He created your mother, your father. He created the animals around the world. He created everything. The sun, the moon, everything. And then the same evening, she showed me a children's Bible that originally belonged to both of my half-brothers. And she talked to me about the Garden of Eden and Noah's Ark and David Goliath and all that bullshit. So yeah. And so then eventually I learned that's what you go to church for. That you listen to some guy preach and lecture about God and Jesus Christ. And then you go up and then you receive this round wafer looking thing. So yeah. But I didn't have my first communion until I was 9 years old, and that was maybe 2 years after I came from Italy to California. Well, I came here at 7 years old, and then I had my first communion at 9. But before, they made us go through rehearsals, this ritual we had to do. Ridiculous. And but before then, we had to say all of our wrongdoings before we took communion. We would go into this box, this giant box, where you walk in and it's pitch black and there's nobody in there. And then on the other side, there's a priest who goes, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. And that really creeped me out, especially when it's fucking pitch black and there's nobody in there. And you have to confess all your wrongdoings. But before that day, my mother told me that you have to confess all your wrongdoings, such as you use profanity, you belch, you pest gas, but now I think back on that, belching and pesting gas, that's like bodily functions. That's not sin. So yeah, I thought it was ridiculous. And also, I know this may sound a bit off topic. Okay, but I wanted to bring this up. Now, I did not have my first girlfriend or sexual relations until I was 22 years old. Now, for someone like me, and this is going to come across as very egotistical, but that for a guy like me, that's really late. 22 years old. Because in high school, let's just say that I was not a ladies' man at all. Maybe the 180-degree opposite of a ladies' man. I just did not have the way with women at that time. I had the worst luck with girls. And I remember ever since I was 15 years old, I started going to church even more and more and more frequently. But this is because I chose to. And I would pray and pray and pray hard. God, please help me find a girlfriend. Help me find a girlfriend. Help me find a mate. And prayers would completely go unanswered. And then when I was 16, I remember almost getting my ass kicked because there was this other girl that I had an interest in. She we started talking, but then after a week, there was this guy who also, apparently maybe he had an interest in her. He started accusing me of stalking her, which I was not. Because first off, if I were stalking, she wouldn't be aware of my, my presence, and I would be keeping a distance. So yeah, that is stalking. She was aware of my presence. She knew I was around. So yeah. And I almost got my ass kicked. And then I remember when I was 19, I went back into being an altar server. Okay, so I made this video 5 minutes ago, so I'm not gonna go back. Anyway, when I was 19 years old, I went back going as an altar server. Well, I'm going to use the word altar server because it's not altar boys anymore, because now I've seen girls actually do it now. And then I also went to Mass 7 days a week because the one that I had in my area, the church that I had in the area, they had Masses every day. And so I started going, and then I started praying even harder and harder and harder and harder. So yeah, and it still went unanswered. So yeah. Now, I'm a real romantic. I love being in love. I love someone in love with me. I love making love. Watching romantic chick flicks with her. Stargazing with her, which is actually one of my hobbies, because I was also an astronomy major. enjoying a dinner of candlelight, roses and champagne, skinny dipping with her in a deserted place late at night under the brightness of the full moon, going to operas, thespian plays and whatnot, exchanging massages, playing with each other's hair. And, and those are the things that I like doing. And also, when you're having a shitty time and you have someone to have their shoulder to cry on, and then do the same thing in return. And those things that I like. I'm a romantic. So yeah. And then 3 years later, after I graduated high school, there was this guy that I recognized. He worked for the UPS. He was a UPS delivery man. He would deliver my acne treatment medication, because at that time I had horrible acne, but I don't have any acne anymore. Anyway, we frequently saw each other, and then he invited me to this what was called the Alpha team or Alpha group or whatever. And basically it's a Christian group where they talk about how important it is to accept Christ in your life and how special He is. And so, yeah. And that's, I started attending. And then one day during Easter time, somewhere in April, the whole group went to the movie theater to see the Passion of Christ that was directed by Mel Gibson. So yeah, and it was very graphic to all you, in case any of you haven't seen the movie. And then one day during the summertime, I called him up to wish him happy birthday, and then which he was very grateful for. And so we ended up getting on, talking and then made good conversation. And then I told him that I was seeing someone. And then he said that I need to be with someone who is Christian and a very strong believer in Christ. And then I responded, I don't care what faith she is. She could be an atheist and still be a sweet, loving person who's romantically interested in me. So, yeah, I mean, I don't care, and it is true, I don't care what faith she is. Then he responds, you know what? The best romance is with Jesus Christ. There's going to be a really great wedding, and then there's going to be wedding bells, and what the fuck? And let me keep this in mind. This guy is married, and he's married to a woman, of course. And this is coming from a married man. Now, okay, before I say this, I'm just going to give you a heads up, just so that you know, I am not belittling gays. I have nothing against gays. But me personally, I'm straight, and I'm into females. Okay. The Bible dictates that homosexuality is wrong. But yet here it is saying that that God does promise us a spouse, and that is the spouse of Christ. But he's a male. As far as I'm concerned, that's very contradictive. It just... it just mesmerizes me on how contradictive it is. And so, after that conversation, I just stopped going to the Alpha group or Alpha team, whatever the fuck it is called, and yeah, and I just stopped. So, yeah. And then one day, I ended up coming across this book. Can you see it? Okay, yeah. Italian Witchcraft by Raven Grimassi. So, I ended up looking through it, and just didn't really take it seriously, because I didn't really, I don't know. Well, anyway, I just didn't take it seriously. And then, several years later, I lost my job as an art model, and I really enjoyed it so much. And then I just went days completely depressed, and then became a reclusive person for a while. And everyone saw how upset I was about it, and then my aunt was like, "Oh, but there's something better. When one door closes, another one opens up. God has a plan for you. He has something better." So, yeah. And also, 3 things. 1, I am not comfortable with the notion about the contradiction on how it says that homosexuality is wrong, but yet, and as I said, me personally, I am straight. Nothing against gays. But it says that you have to accept the spouse of Jesus Christ, which I don't. Also, the thing about how the notion of a monotheistic religion, how an all-male deity creates everything, revolves around him, and gives you these instincts, impulses, desires, and lusts, and so on, and yet tells you that you have to refrain from indulging them, otherwise you will burn in hell for all eternity. And what really turned me off on Christianity is that it dictates where it is written in the Bible that there are some scriptures in the Bible where it teaches you that the future, your destiny is written for you. It's written. It is written. It is written. And I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with something or someone having my destiny, my future already planned for me. I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. So, yeah. And then after 4 years of being single and lonely, I was 26 years old, and then one time, I all of a sudden remembered that book, the Italian Witchcraft. I remember, why don't I try witchcraft to help me find a mate? So I did that. But me being too lazy to go out and find the book, I just went online and looked for, and then typed up spells to bring love. I did that. Did a spell, and then it just so happens it worked. I ended up meeting this young lady on Craigslist who lives in Petaluma here in California, which is not too far from Napa Valley. I live in Pleasant Hill, which is in the Northeast Bay area, northeast of San Francisco. So, and then it just so happens that when we decided to meet, we ended up meeting for the first time in person on the day of Samhain. No joke. And then she actually told me that she was Wiccan. And then I thought, wow, that sounds exactly a lot like what I checked out in this book those years ago. So then we dated for about a year, and then after the breakup, but this was before before I met her, that I just completely gave up and I renounced Christianity. And then way before that, way before meeting her, I destroyed my crucifixes, the icons of like saints that I had in my bedroom. I destroyed my rosary. I gave away my gold cross that I was given to me during my infancy. Gave it away to my mother. It was just because I was just such an angry and bitter person. Because when I was praying for a significant other, and the prayer just never went answered, I lost my job that I really loved. And then after like the bullshit notion about how a God has a plan for me, which I'm not comfortable with somebody having already a plan for me. So then after I broke up with the young lady I was dating with for over a year, I was looking for something to belong to. So I started going into pagan groups in my area, and then I came across this lady in one of them who was a witch, who was a hereditary witch. And then I told her, which is actually true, I have been having like premonitions or like prediction-like occurrences where I would be all of a sudden thinking in my head, and then a while later I would turn on the television, and then a while or so it will just pop up. Like for example on the Discovery Channel, I would think about like a nuclear submarine or boxing or men walking on the moon or some shit like that. And then I would turn the television on, and then on the Discovery Channel or History Channel, they were talking exactly just that. And that was just an example. Or it could be, I'm thinking of a song in my head, and then all of a sudden I turn the radio on, and then there it is. The song that I was just thinking about, it's playing on the radio. And it's not just once or twice or here and occasionally. It happens times too many. And it's so many times that I lose count. And it's too many times, too much to be coincidence. And then I told her this, and she said, "Oh, that's psychic." And she's like, "You have psychic abilities." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then she offered classes that I could actually work with. But then I was like, "Nah, I don't think I have the funds, because I I'm not working, going to school, living off Pell Grants practically until I can find a job, which I am currently looking for, by the way. I'm not lazy. I do want to work. Keep that in mind. So yeah. And then, one day, I took a trip to the metaphysical store in Oakland. It's called Ancient Ways. Because I wanted to look for like a hooded cloak. Like the one I have now, but I'll show it to you in one of my videos after this one. And then they didn't have the one that I was particularly looking for. It was just a simplified black one. Just your traditional one. But I had trouble finding one. And then, so I decided to browse all over the store. And then, all of a sudden, I came across the book again. Can you see it? Yeah. And this book has appeared times too many. So, I ended up thinking, wow, this is a sign. It appeared to me at Borders. Well, Borders is now out of business. It appeared to me in Barnes & Noble. It appeared in Half Price Bookstore in Concord. So I'm like, okay, I better take this as a sign. And then took it home, started reading it. Pow! Made a shitload of sense. So yeah, and then that's where I am now. Also, there was another one I wanted to point out. That I had this fling with this other woman that's about a few years older than me, and she said she looked like she was into the occult and metaphysical, and then she was telling me that she did energy work, and then she did some on me. So I sat on her sofa in her apartment, and then she would hover her hand over me, not touching me, but just her hand, the palm of her hand, and I felt like an energy, sort of like a relaxing feeling. And so one day, when I was looking at the book, and I remembered her saying that, and so I thought I would try that. And I actually tried this on my mother, who when I told her that I went going pagan, she actually threatened, at first she threatened to disown me. But now eventually she learned to accept it. So yeah, I actually tried it on my mother when she was having headaches. So I hovered the palm of my hand over her head, over her forehead, and then headache was gone. So yeah. So apparently a witch cannot be made. You're born a witch. Maybe all this shit that's been happening, it was a calling. And it's just that I just did not belong in the Catholic Christian faith, because it's just so many things that I just completely disagree with. And I disagree with virtually everything. And then there are even some monotheistic religions that, that the marriages are already made. They are already arranged, namely Islam. Like they're already arranged during childhood, and then when they become into adulthood, they ended up marrying. Now, here is one of the one of the lines in the Stregaria, because when people ask me what religion am I don't generally go around announcing that I'm a witch or Wiccan or Strega or pagan or whatever. It's just when the topic arises, and I just tell them that I am a pagan or Wiccan, but in a more precise way, I am Strega. Strega is Italian for witch, and so I practice Stregaria, which is Italian witchcraft. So here's one of the lines, and this is just an example because I'm not gonna because I don't think I have time to read them all to you. I don't want to bore you with. Concerning love, love is the gift of the Spirit's blessing. It is the emanation of Spirit within. Receive love when it is offered, and offer love regardless. Do not allow the duality of love cause you despair. For love can lift up your heart, and it can likewise drag it down. And it is in the experience of loss that we gain a deeper understanding of love. Accept love in the manner in which it comes to you. Do not possess it or attempt to control it or shape it. For love is free, and it shall come and go in its manner. Or if you control or manipulate those you claim to love, then love is no longer joined heart to heart. It is joined chain to hand. Bam! Makes perfect sense. And this is one of my favorites. Concerning sexuality, the sexual power of a man or woman is the strongest power that may be raised from the body as generated energy. The Christians teach that sexuality must be repressed and thereby rob the people of their personal power. Do not be confused by the duality of sex. It can be physical alone, or it can be spiritual alone. It can also be both together. Share your sexuality with whomever you may, in whatever manner you may, for all acts of love and pleasure are rituals of the goddess and to the god. It has been written that you shall be free, and so shall you be free in body, mind, and spirit, for to be under the will of others is to be an extension of others to the degree that we can lose ourselves in the surrender. Not like the Christians who teach shame and modesty and false morality. Blessed are the free, for it is these who choose instead of obey, and choice is the sign of free will. You have heard it said that homosexuality is unnatural, yet I say to you that heterosexuality is likewise unbalanced, meaning that extremes exist at opposite ends, and that harmony resides where balance exists between polarities. Everything is masculine and feminine in essence. All bear the divine spark of the god and goddess within them. Realize this, and do not exalt the one above the other. The strege, which is plural for strega, must live with inner and outer harmony, for they always seek to maintain balance. You've heard Christians condemn adultery and say that the spouse is the property of the other, yet no one may rightly dictate the will of another. Do not confuse love with sex or sex with love, for the conflict exists where one thing forces another to be nature of the other. So you see, I guess this is where I belong. So yeah. So I suppose this concludes our video. I hope it's not too long. I hope I haven't bored you or put you to sleep. So yeah, thank you for watching, and blessed be.